the meeting for the start of the month. First of the month today, being the 1st of September. So welcome to our September council meeting. Do I have any apologies? You were nipping out for a period, weren't you?
10:30, just for short.
10:30, and Councillor Powell and I will break. If we haven't broken for morning tea, we've got a brief call to get on at 11. So for about quarter of an hour. So I'll break at things accordingly, depending on how we're going in the flow. All right. Any other apologies for today's meeting? Any conflicts of interest for reporting? Any acknowledgements? None that I can think of. We've got a series of minutes for confirmation. The meeting minutes for the 4.1 for the 30th of June is moved to Councillor Meehan, seconded the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on that? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Item 4.2, the 1st of August, Councillor McLaren moved, seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Any discussion? All those in favour, aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Item 4.3, which is the minutes of Tuesday the 5th of August, moved to the Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Bartle. Any discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Okay, I see Councillor Cairns and Doody are online. Right, so we come to deputations and presentations. The first is the Rangiora Town Hall Cinema seating upgrade proposal. I have Jeremy Stewart here, so perhaps Jeremy, if you come forward. And then we have two deputations with respect to road sealing. My understanding is that both Lisa Jordan and Jeff Steele would like to take those separately. And I've allowed 5 minutes each for you to do that. What I then propose we do is after each deputation item, we might deal with those two separately. Then we will run in order both the seating upgrade and then the request for road sealing thereafter. And so those who are present can be there for hearing that discussion of what we obviously decide to do. All right, so firstly, welcome Jeremy, and also like to acknowledge the great job that you do in running our town hall cinemas. All the town hall cinemas get nothing but great feedback. I'm also someone that uses it myself from time to time, and it's a great facility. And of course, coming up to our 100th anniversary this coming weekend. Thank you for helping us with the ticket sales for the both those celebrations, because I understand they're well and truly well subscribed, which is great. So thank you.
Yeah, they are, and thanks, Dan. It's actually humbling to get praise like that about the town hall, because I share the passion with you. I love the place. Anyway, morning, Dan and councillors. My name's Jeremy Stewart. I've been involved in the town hall for about 12 years now. About 15 years ago, I came back to New Zealand, was living overseas for 15 years, and came back the year of the earthquakes. My dad owned the old Christchurch Post Office and Telegraph building in High Street, and he had a DVD store in there, Allison Videoland. And obviously the whole city was in a red zone, and he was under a lot of stress, so I bought a DVD store in the red zone and moved it into the back of the building. And I did that because there was a loading bay for the post office where they used to bring the trucks in, and it had the perfect pitch and stud height to put a little 38-seat cinema in. So put a little 38-seat cinema in there, moved back the red zone cordon, and opened up. About a year later, I was reading the press and saw an ad in the press looking for an operator of the soon-to-be newly refurbished Rangiora Town Hall. So I put a proposal in for that and was appointed to be the operator. we got that up and running. After that, a friend of mine, Alistair Castles, owned the tannery in Christchurch, was putting that whole Victorian arcade together, and I managed to secure a building at the end of that arcade and put another twin cinema in there, which is now Deluxe Cinemas. So coming back to Rangiora Town Hall, about 4 years ago, Cinema 3, or slash small theatre, we upgraded the stadium seating there. It was retractable stadium seating, wasn't getting a huge amount of use, and we built stage seating, put new seats in, added curtains, carpet, acoustic panelling all around, just really softened it up. And since then, our growth every year has just been going up, turnover-wise, probably 15%. This year to date, is our biggest year on record. I feel like it's a combination of a lot of things, obviously population growth, but also the fact that we have a really great offer here out in Rangiora. I went to a conference in the Gold Coast, it's every year, a movie convention, and the CEO of Universal Pictures was standing up there, and he said something which has always resonated with me. He said, "The customer is ours to lose," and he is right. We all have big TVs now, we have Uber Eats on standby, we've got all those streaming platforms, and we need to offer something really special for that person to leave the house and come out and enjoy that shared experience. So that brings me to the point here today. We upgraded, the last 10 years, cinema in general have had three major transformations. One is the projection has all changed. It's gone from incandescent lamps to laser projection. A couple of years ago, the council upgraded all the laser projectors, so we're good to go for the next 15 years. The other big upgrades around the world has been seating. So we've gone from a lot of reclining, more black upholstery, easy care, and the third is in-cinema dining. But the only thing we're doing there is cheese board nuts, but that's okay. So just coming back to the seats. The seats are about 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old now. My long-term cleaner, who's been with me since I started Alice, rung me up about 2 years ago, and he said, "Look, Jeremy, these are sort of, I can't really add any more cleaning fabric to them. We're going to get fabric rot." The seats are made up generally of two components, the bottom piece and the back piece. So the bottom piece here on most of the seats, the actual fabric has come off the foam, so it's just sort of all wrinkly and sort of flapping around there. The back piece is all of this, where people put their heads, is all worn out. The fabric gets something like 50,000 rubs or something like that through its life. And by my calculations, these are about 56,000 already, so they've had all their rubs. And on top of that, I've had to actually take whole seats out, the frames, take them into a friend of mine in Christchurch, get them welded up, put back out. A lot of the foam at the bottom there have all been, at some point, the rats have come in and eaten away all the foam, which we just discovered. Over the years, I've manipulated all the back row cushions to the front row, the front to the back, just doing what I can to make them look as presentable as possible. But yeah, they're at their end of their life. So my proposal is, I come up with 47 grand, which I've been putting money aside for. I can't go and get an asset finance loan because it won't be my asset. So I put the money up, I buy the seats, I get them in, and so the way it's structured at the town hall is I pay a base lease of around 70k a year, and also a box office percentage for each seat, for all our admissions. So Cinema 1 and Cinema 2 is 5% of net box office, and Cinema 3 is 8.5%. So the proposal is, I put the money up, and then I claw that money back by Cinema 1 and Cinema 2, 5% commission, holding off on it for about 19 months. It's about 2,200 a month. Yeah, so that's what I'm here ready to do today.
So, thank you, Jeremy, and I assume what talking over there, you've seen the recommendation in our paper.
Yep.
You're in agreement with what's proposed?
Yeah, I am. Yep, I think it would be a good outcome, and yeah, I'm ready to go.
So, some of the seats in there I know I've used myself, and some of them are coming a little off the frame. Does that include repairing frames as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, I check them periodically, but because they're like 12 years old now, especially some of the sides have sort of bent over and things like that. So I actually took a whole seat to an upholsterer in Christchurch, and I got a quote to reupholster them all, and it came back as double the amount as it would to actually get whole seats made with frames and tray tables and everything from this factory in China. Yeah.
Okay, so rodent problem.
Yes,
I'll be asking our staff about what we're doing to manage that, because I was hoping we didn't have a rodent issue in the town hall.
Well, over the last 12 years, there may have been, well, obviously there was at some point. We do have the rodent boxes and the rat traps at the back of the rows. It could have been any time, I'm not sure when it was. It was just discovered like a couple of years ago when I was manipulating and changing all the cushions around.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any questions from colleagues? Mate, we might, Jeremy, thank you very much. We might deal with the report now while you're here. So perhaps if I ask Ken to come forward now, and Jeremy, if you could just resume your seat, that would be great. Thank you very much. Ken, perhaps if you could just turn the other microphone off next to you, just for audibility. So Ken, if you want to take us through 7.1. Thank you. Anything you want to add? Yeah.
So I guess I'll take the report as read, but just further to Jeremy's comments, the seats are at the end of life, and I think Jeremy and his team have made every effort to prolong their use as long as possible, but I think it's got to a point now where decisions need to be made around upgrading, and so the staff recommendation is that we go with the revenue adjustment from cinemas 1 and 2, which equates to about $2,194 a month, and would take 19 months to claw that back, and after which time the normal revenue share would continue. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Around the rodent issue that was mentioned, is that under control?
Yeah, it is, because we have a pest control contractor there, and as Jeremy said, we have the little mouse bait traps located around the complex.
Great. All right. Any questions of colleagues? Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Ken. I just wondered, what does the lease say about repair and maintenance and replacement?
Yeah, so repair and maintenance sits with the leasee, and replacement sits with council. And I think we've got to the point where what we're needing to do now to keep those seats functional is beyond maintenance or repairs. So it's got to the point where it looks like replacement is the preferred option.
Right, thank you.
Question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed in your report that there was money set aside for a future replacement, and was it
3031?
3031. So with you saying that they're at end of life now, are we going to readjust how long we view that the cinema seats will be lasting moving into the future?
Well, I think the expectation is the new seats would last for 15 years, and then there would need to be some adjustment of that 27.5 that's currently allocated in the LTP in 3031.
Thank you. My understanding is we've had a similar arrangement with the seating that went into the main, what used to be the 150-seat theatre. So this is not a dissimilar arrangement in terms of repayment. Is that correct?
So I'm not sure what the
perhaps Grant might be able to assist you there.
Yes, that is correct.
Right. Any other questions for Ken? Councillor Mealings?
Thank you. So I understand that, you know, we depreciate items for a certain amount of years before we replace them. And of course, if they run out, rather if they wear out before their depreciation period is over, then we bring that forward. But we've just heard that these seats are at 12 years old, and due to the very good use, which is great because good business, that they didn't quite last that long. Is it, do you think it's possibly a good idea for us to, in the LTP, to adjust the depreciation period to a bit shorter?
Potentially, but I think the reason why the seats in Cinema 1 and Cinema 2 didn't last as long as expected is they were cloth covering, whereas you look at the new seats that were put into Cinema 3, they're a vinyl heavy duty material, so therefore we'd expect the new seats to last the full 15 years at least.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I just, yeah. So if you anticipate that they'll last longer, then that makes sense. Just thought I'd ask the question. Thank you.
Thanks. Nikki, any other questions? I see Councillor McLaren indicating he wishes to move, seconded by Councillor Bartle. Do you wish to speak?
Thank you. Yes, I'll move the recommendation as written. Look, this is a good news story. While there might be an expectation in a number of years for something like this, now learnt that 50,000 rubs should be the metric that we use in the future. So, as Jeremy put so well, against impossible odds, this is a real success story. And look, I'll have to admit, when the proposal many years ago was to put 3 cinemas in the new performing arts facility at the town hall, I was like, wow, with HD TVs and that, how's that going to survive? But growing up in this town, going to the movies in the town hall was the only real social activity. So seeing this replacement is just a really good deal, and thank you, Jeremy, for proposing that, and staff for working with that. So absolutely no hesitation in supporting it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think it's a good compromise or a good deal, good way of resolving the issue, and certainly it's important that what is one of the premier buildings in the area is kept in a good standard. So no, I certainly support it. I think it's great. Thank you.
And similarly, I will support, as I said before, I think that we're incredibly lucky to have Jeremy as an operator here. I think you've taken our town hall cinemas to the next level. There were previous operators in the town hall prior to us building, but we went through an extensive procurement to identify the right operator, and I think you've done that. It's also the broader benefit that you bring to our town hall. It's the other things that you offer and support that you give, and booking service for shows and others that wouldn't may not necessarily be able to function the same way without that support. So personally, I think it's a really good model that we've got here. It helps upgrade and keep it in tip-top condition, because the last thing we want to do is find that patronage falls when there's plenty of other choices, not necessarily in North Canterbury, but there are broader and around. We hear now, and I hear now, how much people like coming here and out and having the experience. It also supports broader the town with the eating establishments, retail. People come here and do lots of other things. I'm really pleased with the work that we did in the car park, and that extended hours to a 3-hour parking seems to have made a real difference out there. But acquiring that parking also helps the future of the facility. So all those things combined, we want to make sure we keep investing and make sure that it's where it needs to be. So thank you for bringing it to us in the way that you have with our staff, and I fully support what's proposed here. Any other speakers? Right to reply if you wish. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Right. Can you get it done before Saturday? Thank you, team. Cheers. All right, next is we have two deputations regarding the request for road sealing. First, I'll invite Lisa, if you'd like to come forward, and up to 5 minutes would be great. Thank you. Just, there may be some questions to follow. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll be pretty quick.
That's all right, just take the time you need to.
Good morning. My name is Lisa. I have lived on Broad Road for 10 years with my partner and our 2 daughters, where we have built our forever home. So I'd firstly like to thank Joanne and the Waimakariri Council for the work that has been done so far for our request for road sealing, and to councillors for giving us the opportunity to speak today. The health impact the dust has on my family is far greater than asthma, stinging eyes, coughs and sore throats. The true nature of this impact is so highly personal, this simply is not the forum to discuss it. In November 2024, I approached council asking if a temporary speed limit could be put in place on the unsealed section of Broad Road to reduce the vehicle speeds and therefore reduce the dust. This was declined as dust mitigation and the related health issues is not included as a reason in the 2024 setting of speed limits rule. As an alternative option, I was referred to the possibility of resident co-funded road sealing. Shortly after these conversations with council, I spoke with Jeff. Together we decided that we would move forward and continue the request for road sealing that another resident had done.
Thank you very much. So just to be clear, with what's proposed, are you in agreement with what is currently proposed? Have you seen the recommendation?
Yes, I have, yes. I am in agreement with that recommendation.
Okay, all right, that's great. Any questions from colleagues? Councillor Ward.
Lisa, thank you for your presentation. When you say that you're agreeing with the recommendation, are you aware that the recommendation isn't at this stage, it's for option 2, it's not for option 1 as well?
Yes, that is correct.
So you're not in favour of?
I still see great value in the second option of sealing the join. However, I do appreciate those neighbours that are not, for the reason that they are not approving of the road sealing. And also the constraint that council is under in terms of rates and budgets.
So would you like to see perhaps 2 options so that everyone can make a fair and reasonable choice?
Yes, I think that would be great. I would still vote the 1.5, which is the other option, but I also am very happy to accept that for the reasons may be needed that Joanne has made that recommendation. I value.
So you're happy that we look at both options?
Yes, I think both options are still very valuable, being that there were 10 people that in the initial consultation that Joanne came to us, 10 people did vote for that.
Thank you.
So there would be a rating consequence, obviously, from the lesser to the higher. You'd be happy to accept the higher cost if
I personally would, yes. Yeah.
Do you think that would be a view of other residents?
No, we know that is not.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Lisa. I just wondered, in your opening comments, you talked about speed,
Yes.
and presumably that's your safety of your family, which is understandable. Yeah. You also talked about health, and I want to ask you to go into the health impacts, but you've touched on some of them. On a sliding scale, what is your big driver here? Was it originally speed?
No, it
and
has
safety,
always,
traffic safety, or was it?
No, it has always been the dust that comes off the road.
And the health impacts of
and
things.
And the health impacts that dust creates.
I just wanted to get that sort of context.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All right, thank you. Jason.
Thank you. Oh.
Sorry, one quick, yep, no stress.
Thank you for your presentation. Just wondering, you said you've been there for 10 years. Have you noticed that it's been getting worse every year, or has it always been fairly consistent?
It has progressed. We do feel that it has been progressively getting worse. So since we moved there in 2016, there's been 7 more homes built there has been 3 neighbours change, which creates different movements of vehicles, different sized vehicles create more dust. Climate obviously has changed. We've seen the rain impact that it has on the road, and the wind directions and the higher wind. We certainly have seen that significantly over the last few years, and that has certainly created a higher impact.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Now, Mr. Jeff Steele. Thank you. Have you got a presentation? This is the one that's been circulated to us.
Given it as a handout.
All right, so welcome, Mr. Steele. Up to 5 minutes would be great, and maybe some questions that follow. Thank you, sir.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to present here today. My name is Jeff Steele. I live on Broad Road. As Lisa explained, we've been working on this for quite some time. I apologise for the amount of material you've got in front of you. This was planned on the basis of Lisa was going to do 2 minutes and I was going to do 8. We were going to do them together. So I'll try and cover all I can in the time available. Essentially, we're basically, to cut to the chase, we would like 1.5 kilometres of Broad Road and Leafield Road sealed. So that means amending the current recommendation to cover off the longer length, but we're fully supportive of basically the next part of the recommendation, which, yes, we do need more information. We need the tender information or indication, preliminary tenders, whatever you'd like to call them. And we also need the special consultative process so that everyone can be given a fully fair hearing of the pros and cons of this. We started off with a great deal of unity. We were thrown a curveball at the last minute with the fact that the recommendation wasn't what was consulted on. Just to go through what we're talking about, as Lisa explained, health is central to our I'm going to just abandon that and just talk to what you've seen here. Health is central to what we're talking about. And from what material you've been given, you can see that the key thing I want to point out to you is the fact that the attitude towards dust on roads has changed in the last 40 years. There's evidence there from the 1990s. It wasn't a problem. Today, it's recognised globally. New Zealand Health, Ministry of Health, you name it. There are dozens and dozens that there's very serious health impacts. And I come away from here today with nothing other than having pointed it out to Councillor. That's all I want. The point I make is also that's a stark contrast to the information on the council website and your district plan and your leaflets. There's very little mention of the impact of dust. The key leaflet I refer to is called Living on a Dusty Road or Living on Unsealed Roads. That's not actually about living on unsealed roads, it's about driving on unsealed roads. There's a big difference between driving on a road and living. What this does to us is it makes our life very difficult. This is why I've got these, what I call 14 anecdotes. I apologise for the use of the word down the bottom there. I put that in there to emphasise the passion and the severity of the issue. That there's many, many instances of wherever I've gone, doing things on my property, living there, dust becomes an issue. Whether it's trying to do rainwater capture, whether it's growing plants, basically, whether it's talking to my neighbours, dust comes up. And one of the things I want to point out, it's not dust just coming off cars from wind-blown dust, it's dust that gets on your car. We're not only wanting the road sealed, but we're wanting a complete journey sealed. That's why we're asking for not just the 900 metres on Broad Road, but we're asking you to go round the corner and join up with the existing seal. The clue is in the name of the policy. It's about extension. It's not about creating just a patch of seal. It's about creating journeys, which I think is a very important thing for the traffic engineers to think about. Our situation, who are we? You see the slide there, basically, that's very important. That's not in the report. And the two blue dots are the key things, they're the farms. Look at where they are. They're miles away from, well not miles, sorry, they're metres away from where the dust is. My personal view is they should never have been included in the first place. The next slide, our situation at 80% sealed. Sealing is not, unsealed is not the norm where I live. That's where they're bordered by the outlying road, Duffs, Ashby's, Pembertons, etc. That's 10 square kilometres. It's about 120 properties. Basically, most of those properties have sealed access. In fact, there's only about 20 properties in there that have unsealed access. That's the 13 in our group and a few along Duffs Road. There is another enclave along Ashby's Road that has a lot of properties along there, but not a lot of houses. So the predominant thing in our neighbourhood is people have sealed access. Our situation also, the road runs north-south, north-north-west. Basically, the wind doesn't blow down the road, the wind blows across the road. The wind blows into the houses. We've done this little study where Lisa drove down every road east of Marshman's Road, basically 18 sections of unsealed road. We find it hard to see an area that repeats our situation. Basically, the shelter that's come out of farmland, there's very little shelter, it hasn't got established shelter trees. Traffic, this is one that's very important because someone talked about the condition of the road. Yes, it's getting worse. There's a slide on here, I talk about the condition of the road, but it's about traffic behaviour. It's not one stretch of road where people start and end. Basically, they come out of the ford, up a steep hill, they accelerate, they come past driveways, there's a dip where it goes through a overland waterflow, a culvert. They come down, they stop at the intersection, or they slow down at the intersection, they go around the corner, they speed up. There's enormous, and there's also driveways along there where cars slow down, speed, turn. Their wear and tear on that stretch of road because of car acceleration and deceleration, as I would suggest, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but I would suggest it is abnormally high. And that is evidenced by the next slide, the condition of the road. The council actually has a report from January 2025 when the guys come out and first started this. The report mentions deep potholes, deep corrugations, potholes down to the base. And then there's a lovely word bony. And admittedly the word bony is about the bit just beyond the intersection, but it also is characteristic of the part around by the intersection. Bony and used as traffic and road condition is driving over it causes relentless vibrating and bumpy ride. Basically, bony means the surface is exceptionally rough, jarring, rocky, exposed stones, hard, bedrock protruding. My point is that the road's a bit stuffed as it is. The repair and cost of doing the road is not actually in the report, basically. Even if you do nothing, don't seal the road's worn out. And that's not taken into account in the finances of that. So I think that should be. In the report, I have some concerns, I call them issues. I don't believe they're criticisms. If they are criticisms, I hope they're taken as constructive criticisms. I believe it understates the dust problem. It understates the condition of the road. There is an inconsistent definition of the target rating authority and the inclusion rules. Who's included, who's not. You notice in one of those slides I talked about 17 properties, but in what you've probably seen is that in the report we talk about 13 and 15. There's a lot of work gone on beforehand in deciding who's in and who's out. I was passionate that the farms should not be included. There's nothing in it for them. And also I was really desperate to get them out because there were two elderly ladies I didn't want to upset. had that conversation with the council, and the council said, no, leave it up to us, we'll deal with them. However, before that, I had been to see one of the ladies, and we had a lovely conversation. It was absolutely very neighbourly, and we talked about all sorts of things, and we had a lot in common. But she did tell me very clearly that no, she did not want the road sealed, and that was one. I did not talk to the other lady because people advised me she was a very private lady and she didn't take kindly to strangers. So I asked the other farm lady to talk to her. But the bottom line is there has been insufficient communication with the farms for them to make a fully informed decision about this. Undercounted traffic volumes. I've spoken to the traffic engineer at another local authority and I have real issues with how the volume was counted on Ward Road. I can go into more detail later if you want, but there's, I think, some pretty serious undercounting. The traffic volumes don't fit with our observations on the road. Properties versus people. How do you...
Perhaps if you could just reach to get to your concluding remarks.
Okay, my
Good.
concluding
So
remarks.
you've given us a pretty full...
Yeah, my concluding remarks are we've done a lot of work. We've done what I call our little business case, which shows that the best value for money you can get east of Marshall's Road is sealing Broad Road. We've got the evidence there, and we just really ask that rather than just go with the recommendation as written in the report, you consider changing it to, or I call it modifying it to, instead of doing 900 metres, do 1500 metres, go round the corner, intersecting round the corner, and you go to the tender process so we know what we're talking about in terms of how much it's going to cost, and we do the special consultative process so everyone can have a full say. That's all I ask.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Just so I'm clear, for colleagues' benefit, all we're doing here today is as per the recommendations, approving in principle. That actually will include consultation on both options 1 and 2, so we will fully traverse that and see whether that is supported, and then it'll be up to council to make that final determination. So Jeff, your opportunity will still be there when that special consultation procedure occurs to put forward your evidence. Will make sure in any other argument you'd like to be advanced.
Yeah, I apologise for appearing to shout at you, but
you haven't shouted.
It's a very, very hard issue for us.
You haven't shouted at all. Yeah. I think you've put forward a really good argument, and appreciate both the way that both you and Lisa have put forward respective arguments today. So that's really great. So just wait one. There might be some questions. I'll just double check. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Jeff, for your presentation and for your passion about the health and well-being of your community and the people around you. Just a question from me is that you might have mentioned that you're very prepared to pay your 50% up front, quite a few of you, which would save the council interest on the loan of doing over for whatever the rating. Is that correct?
Yes, that basically, the thing that staggers me about this is that there's 10 people willing to pay huge chunks of money to, $200,000, $250,000 coming to shove into a bit of infrastructure to make their life pleasant, livable.
Healthy.
Right, thank you for that. That's noted, and we appreciate that. Unless there's any other questions?
Can I just one way?
Sure.
Partnership. We want to partner with you to do this. We don't want. We're not sitting here saying, "Hey, council, do this for us." And that, We're saying, and I'd like to shift the conversation from if Broad Road gets sealed to how we seal it. What do we need to do to convince you guys it's an idea, a good idea? We're willing to pay money. Do we need to do anything else? We really want to work with you on this.
I don't think you need to do anything else at this stage. You've put forward the case. We have by law to do a special consultative procedure. Today needs the council's endorsement to start on that, and we'll, obviously we've got to maintain an open mind through that process about how that might be, whether it's option 1 or 2, and I certainly have an open mind in that respect, but it'll be evidenced by what comes through the consultation and what our staff come back and recommend through that. But that's always guided by the residents, and the fact that you're prepared to make that investment either by upfront or it's paid off over the term of your rates, they're always things that we listen to very carefully.
So just one, that I acknowledge there are people who will find paying the increased rate very hard. After this, my next project would be to work with those people to find out how we can make it work for them. If one of them suffers, we all suffer. And that's what I want to do next, is how can I work with the people that don't want to make this work, because I believe we can work with it. We're a community with got enormous resources in terms of time, skills, energy, knowledge. We can make it work for the people who are opposed.
That's really good. Just 1 second. I had Councillor Goldsworthy who grabbed my attention.
Sorry to be involved.
That's right.
And thank you for your presentation and your passion on the issue. In your presentation, you mentioned something around shelter trees. Just out of interest, had you considered planting shelter trees to alleviate the dust, or do you have any?
I've planted over 1,000 trees on my property.
Okay.
I moved to that property to be there, and I wanted to give back to nature.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a wonderful property. I've got a creek. I've got eels in there as bigger than your arm. I was walking there recently, and I had more than about a dozen fantails flying around me. It's a beautiful property. I've planted trees. It's just coming right. But there's a place where the trees aren't growing. It's along the road. I planted natives. Dumbest thing I ever did. If I wanted to deal with this, I should have planted those awful, ugly hedges. And there's a problem with that. I've got power lines above it. Okay?
Yeah.
And so all I was doing was creating a massive cost for me to trim those trees every year.
Okay.
So it's that kind of, yes, I did consider it, and
It was left wanting.
yeah.
Right.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you. I note the words you use, partnership. I like that reference. So that's the way we will look at this as well. So thank you for the.
There's a huge problem with unsealed You've got a huge number. If we could actually form a model for how you might do other places, I'd love that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeff. All right. So now we will come to item 7.2. So is Joanne's, I see online, is she leading? Thank you. Love your office, Joanne. It's you've obviously had a significant upgrade upstairs, Jeff. We need to have a talk about this later. It's a lot more expensive than I last saw it upstairs. All right, Joanne, we're in your hands.
Good morning, and look, my apologies first for the croaky voice, not very well, but we'll go from there. So this report seeks approval in principle for the sealing of a section of Broad Road under the private funding of seal extension requirements. Staff have been working closely with Elisa and Jeff on this proposal. And firstly, I just did want to acknowledge their passion for the subject and their drive to make change. So I think that's very commendable. With the consultation that has been done, staff sought feedback from residents along Broad Road and the section of Rangiora-Leafield Road to seal a length of approximately 1.5 kilometres. Initial feedback received from those 15 properties were that 10 were in favour of sealing the road, and 5 of those properties did not support sealing. Some provided reasons for that, including affordability, and others did not provide a response as to why. This report includes 3 options which are outlined within the summary. The first is to approve in principle the sealing of 1.5 kilometres of the road, with 15 properties contributing at an estimated cost of $440,000 excluding GST. The second option which was added was to approve in principle the sealing of a shorter section being the Broad Road section only, not the Rangiora Wood End Road section, Rangiora Leithfield Road section. And that would be 13 properties contributing at a cost of $315,000, excluding GST. And the third option is to decline the request for sealing. The staff recommendation to proceed with option 2 has been put forward in an effort to try and balance health implications and also affordability issues. I note that council have budget each year for sealing of around 1 kilometre of road within the district, and we do have around 590 kilometres of unsealed road across the whole district. The rates calculation, the indicative rate calculation would look that properties would be paying between about $1,200 and $1,500 per year per property, including interest and GST, and that this would be in addition to any other general rates increases. The next step, dependent on council's decision, will be to seek prices and then bring back a further report to council before going through a special consultative process. So just one other thing I would bring to your attention is, since the feedback that Lisa originally received on the setting of speed limit rule, the rule has changed and does now allow for slower speeds on unsealed roads. However, that's just for information. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Joanne. I hope you're feeling better today. In the options here, could some of the properties pay in full to save interest, or the council paying interest on sealing of the roads? Would that be an option?
So when we go through a special consultative process for a targeted rate, it does allow the property owners within the targeted rating area to either select the targeted rate over a set time period, say 20 years, or else it does allow people to pay a lump sum if they have cash available. However, that's not going to be the case with all properties, so that's why the targeted rate is put in place to allow properties to pay over time, should that be how they would like to proceed. However, if you're in the targeted rating area, then you are required to pay the targeted rate or the lump sum. You can't opt out.
No, that's fine. So either or is acceptable. So thank you for that. Could consultation cover both options, 1 or 2?
It's going to, Joan.
Cool. Oh, thank you.
There's
3 options, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Don, did you have a clarifying point to you?
I did wish to suggest this. I haven't been able to discuss this with Joanne, but hearing the debate here, I did wonder if it would help to amend recommendation B.
Yes.
To say, and my grammar might not be quite right, but to say approves in principle either the sealing of Broad Road from 100 metres north of Rangiora Leithfield to south of the ford, or sealing Rangiora Leithfield Road from the end of seal in addition to the above.
Or we could, yes, or could just say options contained in the report.
Yes,
which is whatever the recommendation point was again, that would cover that as well.
That would avoid the preconception that the council has made its mind up before going to consultation if it allowed both of those options.
So, it could consult on the 3 options, which it should do,
yes,
as outlined in option 1, 2 and 3, as outlined in item 1.5 of the report. I think if Courtney can find a way of wording that, and we'll just test that before we come back. You've indicated you wish to move, Councillor Ward. I'll come back in a minute.
Thank you.
Councillor Goldsworthy.
My question was just to clarify the recommendation that's been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Did you?
Yeah, I think it's worth clarifying that when reports like this come to the council, it's not making a decision. It's basically the staff is saying, look, there's an option here, and we think it's got merit in actually going out for consultation. We've got commitment from a number of the properties, so that would be the worst case scenario for those properties, that if the council decided to seal it, they would pay that amount that's in the report there. From the consultation process, that's the one where the council will actually consider whether there's the benefit on whether everyone is included in an all-in or only the properties that have committed to pay that rate. The rate won't continue. It'll still need to be consulted in the long-term plan, which takes effect on the 1st of July next year. So it doesn't become a rate until that date.
So if there's no further, do you have a question?
Thank you. I just noticed in the discussion about the options, we're giving some estimated prices here, but this is all a pre-tender process. So, Don, do we treat these estimates as just guidance for ourselves as councillors? Because we do have to follow a tender process, so we're not making any, just be explicit about this, Mr. Wynn, we're not making any commitments to a price or to a council commitment. Is that how it rolls?
Correct. If you pass the resolutions as amended, then the next step is council seek prices and then report back to you with those prices, seeking approval to go for a special consultative process. And as a result of the feedback from that, then the council would make a decision as to whether it wished to include a targeted rate in the LTP. Right. Joanne will just need to think about how she structures that tender, given that we will be going to price before we really are doing the work. So there's a procedural matter there that Joanne will be thinking through as how she times, how she words that request for tenders, given that it's not yet decided at all.
Yeah, that was the underlying question, but it's a commitment to us to proceed to consultation with a view to a special consultative process, and a tender is contained.
Well, I think C would need to be amended. It notes the rough order estimate, then remove the words for the workers 315 because it's only one of the
worried
options.
that we're committing, sort of somehow we're committing. But
well, notes the rough order estimate is contained in the report, I think would be the better way of doing that. And then the rest take out for the workers 315 excluding GST, the rest could remain. It says there that it would need to be tested with the market. So that picks up your point as well. So any further questions? So just on the moving, I assume you're going to move with that adjustment. Can we just check that B approves in principle this?
The extension of for either option 1 or option 2?
Well, no, it has to be the 3 options. So,
okay, as outlined in the report within the road review management private funding of sealed extensions, 50% cost share requirements for either 900 metres or 1.5 kilometres. And C, that I think we need to delete the estimate for the work because to include both.
Why don't we just, I suggested notes the rough order estimate is contained in the report.
Yes.
Take out that wording. So you're prepared to second that, Deputy Mayor? Do you wish to speak, Councillor? Are we clear with what's moved there?
Thank you. I am very pleased that this has actually finally come to council for us to seek further consultation and to have a hearing, as we did for the Riverside Road, which was very valuable, and I know and I have seen the benefit of that procedure in the sealing of Riverside Road up in that area, and I'm sure that if once we have a hearing and we get the prices and we come to an agreement and we can sign off on this, this will greatly benefit all those people, the 14 or 15 properties that, even more, that are affected by dust, and not only from the roads, but from the northwest that really howls through there and affects their livelihoods, the health and well-being of their families and their children, and also of the livestock, and also, from what Jeff has said, growing the trees efficiently to give more shelter away. We know what dust does to the growth of property, on the properties. So I'm very pleased to, and I hope that you'll all approve this process so that we can move forward and hopefully support these people to get a better, a healthier lifestyle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Funnily enough, Councillor Ward and myself had a little discussion at Councillor Ward's request just before the meeting.
No caucusing.
Just discussing the current recommendation. And from my point of view, I was more than happy to have all options on the table, not just one, which the recommendation was sort of directing us towards. So that's not expressing a preconceived view. I don't know what the answer will be. That will be yet to be determined. But I think it is appropriate that we consider all the alternatives. And I would also like to thank both Jeff and Lisa for the way in which you presented this morning. It was very positive, so thank you for that. So I'm more than happy to support the amended recommendation that Councillor Waters put forward, and assisted by, I must admit, Don Young and yourself.
Well, it's what we're here for, isn't it? Right, I had Councillor Fulton, then Powell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As one who's received a lot of feedback about the dust on my own vehicle over the last few years, I'm living on an unsealed road, I feel well poised to speak. I just think the key point there, and it was a really good presentation from Jeff and Lisa, was the word partnership. This is exactly the steps that I think we should take to go to consultation, to go through that process of establishing a market price for this, but also to establish a partnership, because I think, again, from experience, living on along an unsealed road is a real partnership. It's a community partnership, and I think you've expressed that really well, both for those people who want the seal and those who don't, and those people who just sort of travel along the road, slowly or not. So it's I really commend you just for the work that you've done, and that canvassing the views of your own community, and I hope that's a valuable exercise in this process as well, and the council can learn from it. Yeah, in some way. So happy to see this go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Powell.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that, I mean, what we're approving here is literally to go out to the market and get some more firm prices for the two options. And then it comes back in terms of approving the special consultative process. So I'm totally in favour of going out and getting that pricing for the two options, because that then gives us all the information to then move to the next step. And I would also like to acknowledge Jeff and Lisa, not only for their presentation today, but for the work that they have done, obviously, in partnership with Roading, with Don and with Joanne, to actually, work to get to this point. So I do acknowledge that work that they have done.
I'm going to support the process here, and I again want to acknowledge both Jeff and Lisa for their presentations, and I do, as I said before, view it as a partnership. This isn't unusual. We have done this in other areas where community have come forward and said that they'd like to see their roads sealed, and they're prepared to pay the contribution. And that's what the process is all about now. As Councillor Powell indicated, we need to firm up that pricing, see what it is, and then go out and ask. And I think that's appropriate to shift the wording that was there so it has those options there for people to come back and advise us where they sit. And that's a democratic process that we will listen to really clearly. It's a shame that seal extension funding that used to exist years ago doesn't exist the same. When I first came onto council, it was one of the most contested processes, which is which roads and your particular wards got in there. And it was a priority in a ranking system. Again, there was never sufficient money to meet all the expectations, but there was a list that we were progressively working through. And I remember Pester's Road being one that was high on my list because I'd been working with residents down there for some time, so I was very pleased to see that achieved eventually throughout that term. But noting the concerns residents have raised, we will now undertake, if there's agreement today, go out, undertake that work, and then it'll come back to a hearings process to consider that, which will then report back to council, and council will make that final decision. And before we make that final decision, you'd be most welcome to seek a deputation to come back to further speak if you wish. So that offer's there. All right, any further speakers? Councillor Mannix.
Thank you. First of all, Jeff and Lisa, thank you again, like all my other colleagues here, for coming and speaking to us, because I know it's a bit daunting. So, you know, you obviously feel very strongly about this, enough to come and in front to council for your community. So, brilliant. And I, in another life, have spent a bit of time as an agricultural contractor and have spent a lot of time on some of these dusty roads, and so I understand very well what you're dealing with there. I'm very happy that what we've got on the table in front of us is two options that will be explored and costed, that will come back to the people to have their say on it, and we'll deal with it then. So that will give you and your community choice, and I'm happy to endorse the options that we have in front of us here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wood, you were trying to get my attention, but did you have a question? Or are you wanting a right reply?
Well,
I need to know. There's not three options there. Is it a question, or are you, because you've got a right to reply?
Right of reply.
All right, well, can you just wait for a moment then, see if there's any other speakers? Right of reply, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm really pleased that we're going to be looking at a costing for sealing of this road, which will save maintenance on this road. And the point I want to make is that Lily Road South was sealed with the help of the residents 14 years ago. There has not been 1 cent spent on that road, which is over 1 kilometre long, since it was sealed 14 years ago. So there's a saving, so put that into your thought processes as we move forward.
Thank you. That's very good. All right, so we now come to voting on this. I'll put the recommendation, and we're all clear what that says. Councillor Cairns has already voted from the looks of it. So I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? I declare that carried. All right, thank you. That looks like that's a unanimous vote. So thank you again to our residents who are here this morning. All right, and staff will inform you on the processes that will happen next. Thanks, Joanne. We do hope you feel better shortly, and for making your time available to come in this morning. We now move to 7.3, which is the Canterbury Regional Spatial Plan Establishment. Oh, sorry, 6.1 first. I skip over that. Oh, I did too. We're going to deal with 6.1 first, which is the approval of the draft North East Waimakariri Urban Plan. Gosh, I hope we can find a better term for that at some stage. I know you've tried. It's not my favourite title, but it does say what it is.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
The purpose of our report in front of you today is to present to you I won't say the full title, I'll keep it to just the headline, which is the draft North East Waimakariri Urban Plan.
We can call it NUP.
The NUP, as we have been calling it in the office.
Is it NUP?
The NUP. And we are seeking your approval today to release it for public consultation only. So subject to that, it's anticipated that we'd kick off a 4-week consultation period from the end of this week. The full draft plan and the Let's Talk summary is both attached to your report, and as has been detailed in the report, is a culmination of considerable early engagement that we've undertaken throughout this year that has involved stakeholders, partners, elected members in the wider community. So we ran a wide community early engagement survey to which we had over 200 respondents early in the year. We established an external advisory group that has helped us formulate through a couple of half-day workshops the key moves and vision in front of you today that has involved community board members and elected members as well. We've had many individual meetings and touch points with key stakeholders as well, and agencies and partners who've had also a review role of the directions as they were emerging. We've had Huis with Whitiora as the conduits of Matua Huriri, and they have also undertaken a full review of the draft plan before it's come to you today. We've had several elected member engagement points this year and last, including workshops with the council, the District Planning and Regulation Committee, and of course the Body and Sefton Community Board as well. And over the last few weeks, we've had additional feedback from a couple of elected members, which we've actioned where time is permitted to do so. And there's been additional feedback come in that we've itemised into the opportunity to amend before a draft goes out for consultation, and perhaps other matters that we might like to consider holistically when we've had feedback on the whole of the plan. So the draft plan in front of you responds to the key drivers and challenges and opportunities for the area. It proposes a vision, strategic objectives, and a collection of key moves around, across a raft of key themes. These have all been workshopped previously with the community board and the committee and the council, and we've reflected on the feedback where we've gained that over recent months. So we're looking today for approval to undertake public consultation only at this point. So we're really just looking at the community feedback on the draft. We've then scheduled workshops with the council and the community board in November, at which time we'll come back and outline what we've heard and any proposed directions for a final plan before that comes to you for adoption. And once it is adopted, it will be superseding the existing 2013 version of the Woody and Pegasus area strategy. When we kick off consultation, we'll share the draft widely, and we'll also look to schedule a couple of drop-in sessions so people have the opportunity to come and speak to staff about the project. With that, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? There's only one from me. It's just in the, I think it's really good personally, and the document looks great. There is a photograph of myself there in there with the backdrop of the town hall. I do have photos somewhere in our cache with a wood end or Pegasus backdrop or Ravenswood. I think it would be probably more appropriate for that, if that's okay. I just looked at it and thought, while I like the town hall, it's not in Rangiora, so if we could find Laura, our comms team, I'm sure we'll be able to find that for you. All right. That hasn't printed yet, has it?
Nothing's been printed.
Right, okay. Because if it was, I wouldn't be that stressed about it. All right, okay. Any questions, further questions? So we've got a series of recommendations. Is somebody prepared to move? Councillor Powell? Seconded by Councillor Bartle. Do you wish to speak?
I'd just like to say thank you to Heike and the team for the work that has gone into this, and I know it is a lot of work that has gone into it. I mean, I did have a few concerns around the version that came to our last meeting, particularly around raising community expectations about what could be achieved. So I think the changes have, you know, it helped to address that in terms of really outlining that you know, it's dependent on developers and the speed at which they operate. things are also dependent upon government agencies like NZTA, and also around funding from council through, you know, the LTP process. So I think that's been addressed, and yeah, there was a few photos that needed a bit of tweaking. So that's happened, and there has been, I think that community engagement, that early survey was very valuable, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing the feedback as it comes in. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, thank you for all your hard work. It's been a very involved process, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the public now have to say. There's only so many tweaks you can make from the feedback from the greater public. So yes, looking forward to hearing feedback. Well done. Thank you.
Any further speakers? I just similarly will support this. I think it's been a well-traversed document, and I'm pleased that we took that extra time to go back and recheck. The stakeholder workshops that we've worked with, I think, have largely helped form this work. So thank you for that, and also the leadership of our staff and the preparation of it. Comes at a pretty critical time when there's been a lot of discussion about development that's appropriate and perhaps not so appropriate out there. And I don't think I've in my time ever been referred to other than as the Mayor of Waimakariri. I was in Wellington recently, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh, you're the Mayor of Pegasus." Pegasus Golf Course was the word that was used. So our district's become famous, but probably for not our own name, but for things that are associated. So it's just a really important time, actually, as we're looking about what's appropriate and how our communities grow, and what we see as the future shape in coming together. And it is important that while we have titles for communities and established names, that we do look at the wider area. And it's important that as we consider that as part of that and see what our community's view is on that. So thank you, Hiker and team, and all that have been pulling this piece of work together. And I look forward to hearing what our community's view on this is over the next month or so. Thank you. Any further speakers? Right of reply, Councillor Powell. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. So good luck with the new whip. Well, we call it the Durham new whip at the moment until it becomes a new whip. Thank you, team. All right, so I can now go forward to 7.3. Who's leading that? That's Matt Bacon. It's pretty straightforward. It's 7.3, the Canterbury Regional Spatial Plan Establishment, so it's Matt and Ben. If he's not here, I think it's pretty straightforward. We can... Look, I can speak to it if he's not here. We've sat through it through Mural Forum enough. So, so we had a workshop last week. No, well, look, this has come through. It's the important part of doing the regional spatial plan, and it's establishing the work around that, and in principle the establishment of a Waitaha Canterbury Regional Spatial Plan Committee, which is required through the new Spatial Planning Act, which is not quite in force yet. It's had its second reading. It's due to go to the Parliament with its third reading. Here's Matt now. Are you ready to go? I was just introducing briefly. I wasn't sure whether you were here.
Yes.
Okay. I was telling colleagues we had a workshop on this last week. Anything else you want to fill in there, Matt?
No, nothing to add. Happy to take any questions.
So,
there is a financial impact on this, which should be noted. That we've got enough funding for this year, but the estimate to do this plan is somewhere between $7 and $10 million across Canterbury. There are some that say it could go to $20 million across Canterbury. Our funding share of that's 10.7%, and so we'll need to actually fund that in our long-term plan. It's not currently in there, and it's another unfunded mandate that's come down from the central government. So we'll have to keep that within our 4% cap.
Any further questions? Any questions? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, just mind my ignorance, but is this a duplication of what's already there? And why are we having to do this? Or how does this impact us on our regional planning moving forward with unitary councils that might come into effect? You know, where is the separation?
Yes, so in terms of that question, the reason that we have to do a regional spatial plan is that the planning bill, which is in its third reading at the moment, so we don't actually have it, but it is on its way, says that we need to do a regional spatial plan. And what it says as well is that the regional spatial plan must be across the region that exists at the moment. So that's why we need to do a Canterbury regional spatial plan. You raise a really good question, and it's one that we put in our Head Start proposal and have sought to seek some guidance on, is what happens when we do the next round of regional spatial planning and we have different regional areas, if we get there. And the answer to that is not overly clear at the moment, but it's certainly something that if the Head Start proposals progress, we will need to think about and seek some guidance from the Ministry on.
But surely we're duplication.
Well, we don't have a choice, Councillor Ward. We either do it or we fall behind. No, I agree with you. You're making very valid points that have been raised by us a number of times.
If they're
so
putting
more
that
a
onto
debate.
us, surely they should cover the costs.
Another excellent point that you might wish to make in debate.
If they're insisting on capping rates, well then they should, and we should insist on no further.
We actually have, as
no
Jeff
further
indicated.
things put on to us without doing our basics.
Well, we suggested that in our submission as well.
Thank you.
Exactly that point. Any further questions before we come to debate? Councillor Fulton.
Just a question, and I apologise if I didn't quite grasp this in workshop, but say on the local work of what was the zone committees and now the proposed local leadership groups, local community input, local plans, this is particularly environmental planning, the principle could apply elsewhere. So where does that kind of impetus sit? You know, is it way down in terms of zone committees, local leadership groups did so much work with plan changes, established all that in the context of Canterbury Regional Plan. Is that all wiped? Is this a clean slate, basically, in terms of the input of local leadership groups and community groups into, you know, setting priorities for their own community?
So the structure of how the committee engages with those groups and all groups basically has yet to be worked through. However, what I'd say is the legislation we anticipate will say that you don't start from day dot again, so you are able to pick up parts of your existing plans and put them into the process. There are some pre-consultation requirements as well, and so again we haven't identified what those groups will be, but they will be the types of groups that you're talking about that we will be engaging with before we start drafting the plan. So I
those
think
local plans are still will be in existence, but they have to refer to the spatial plan and be consistent with the spatial plan.
Yes, so the spatial plan is the statutory document. Those other plans, if they're non-statutory documents, are able to feed into the statutory document.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions? There's a series of recommendations here. Is someone prepared to move? Moved, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Fulton. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I should say first what I'm moving. I've made one small adjustment to item P, which notes that there is currently no funding allocated by central government to assist directly with regional spatial planning. And I'd like to add the words and request the Canterbury Mayoral Forum to seek central government funding for the Canterbury Regional Spatial Plan.
Do you, as a seconder, are you happy to second that?
Good one. Nice work.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something we don't have a choice about, really, so there's no point really opposing it to any large degree. It is unfortunate, and I thought Jeff may have been looking at my notes earlier when he made his very profound comments about unfunded mandates. This is just another one that is being imposed upon us. And we've had the amalgamation Head Start backstop proposal that used a lot of resources and incurred costs. The spatial plan is another one of those. The rate capping legislation is, well, you can have your picnic, but you know, you can only have sandwiches. The impact of the spatial plan is 0.3% approximately, based on the current estimate, and that is significant. Everything adds up. And the impression I have is that there is a lack of understanding of local government functions and funding in central government. I mean, sometimes you wonder if they've got a clue. So anyhow, I would hope the Mayoral Forum can request the funding. I'm not overly optimistic, but if we don't ask, we'll never get it. And it is election year, I note, at the moment. So I'd also endorse Councillor Mealings as the alternate should Mayor Gordon be unavailable. I think that's a good fit. So I'm happy to support the recommendation with my small addition. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Fulton, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think certainly my general impression of the drive for spatial plans, and I think it will be at the extent of local input and local leadership, is that this is an ideology that will help a politician sleep at night, but the proof will be actually in the doing and the implementation of these plans as ever. And it applies equally to where the previous regimes we've had, whether that's in Environment Canterbury, whether that's Town Planning Acts. It's actually establishing this basically the mandate and the support of the public in implementing this. And I know that there will be limits and lots of what they call now guardrails as to what we can do, but this thing will fail if it doesn't have local leadership and local input and buy-in. And I imagine the Mayoral Forum will try to establish that buy-in with their communities. So, look, it's unwanted, it's unmandated. It's going to be another expense at local level, but it will only succeed if people buy into it. And I know that sounds like common sense, but I'm only improving it because we have to. So thank you.
I do have one concern around, that we are actually here approving our share of funding for the actual overall development and delivery of the regional spatial plan when we actually don't know what that is. And that's really hard when you look at our share as being 10.7%. That's a lot for our ratepayers to bear. And I would just urge the Mayoral Forum to be conscious of costings when developing the plan and the actual development of the actual plan. That, just to try and be prudent with ratepayers' money.
Well, probably just appropriate point for me to jump in here to say, look, I support this report, and I'm obviously happy to be our representative there, and if workload is different to that, I'm grateful for the support of, I assume she agrees, Councillor Mealings as the alternate. And in recommending Councillor Mealings, there was a range of reasons for that, including her fact she's been through our district plan as trained resource consent commissioner and has a lot of experience. Planning is also an area of when I came into council, I was an area I've had a lot to do with as well. So I feel comfortable in that space, but we'll just see how that flows and what the workload looks like over that period of time. But it appears from the mayoral forum that it looks like from the discussions that most of the mayors will be joining this and will be party to it, and there will be alternates in place, but just see how that flows. Look, we're in uncharted territory. We haven't done this before. Is it a construct we wanted? No. But it's a result of where the legislation's landing, and as I said earlier, the third reading is due. It's had its second reading. The third reading is normally pretty perfunctory before it goes for full assent, but it will be law before the election. I think the one thing we do need is certainty in this space. At last election, RM reform was passed through by the previous government, and they spent a fortune on it. Then it was turfed out, and we've ended up with a new, the Spatial Planning Act. From what I understand, I've heard from the Labour Party, is that if they do become government, that they will not throw the legislation out, but they will amend it, is their plan. So, and will amend the parts that they're not in agreement with, but the principal parts of it, from what I gather, will remain. And so forming this now gets us organised, and so that we're in a space to get on with the work that we need to. There's a range of things that we need to get sorted across Canterbury. Hopefully, with a bit of luck, it'll be picking up all the good parts of our current district plans, combining those and making sure that the undesirable aspects that we don't want to see occur, there's broad agreement on. And just say, as I normally operate, I will be bringing back to you where those major contest points might be, where those challenges are, and be seeking your guidance on those before I take official positions on behalf of the council. I've always operated that way, and I intend to continue to do so, to make sure I have a mandate for representing the views that I'm taking. Around the unfunded mandate, yes, another, and so I'm in agreement with what the Deputy Mayor has added to the wording, and we'll make sure that that gets forwarded through the mayoral forum, and with a bit of luck they'll endorse that. I don't think there'll be any pushback from them, because equally they're concerned about it. Just to assure Councillor Powell, there has been a lot of discussion about the mayoral forum programs and budgets, and ensuring that they're needed now, and where there can be some economising of some of the program to ensure that there's not that heft of extra responsibility on ratepayers at times where it's difficult. And as Jeff observes, this here in a coming rates capping environment, it all adds to a bill that we would otherwise expecting to have to foot. So there are discussions that I'm sure will be part of the mayoral forum advocacy going forward. But I'm in support of what's here. We have no choice, and we, between ourselves and our other partner councils throughout Canterbury, this is our chance to make sure that it's right, and we make this legislation work for not only our district but for all of Canterbury. Further speakers, Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. After spending the last few years trying to bring our district plan to fruition through ever-shifting goalposts, countless new national policy statements, legislative changes, et cetera, as they went to reform our resource management framework, we finally got to the end, and, well, almost to the end. And the ink isn't yet dry on our district plan yet. And here we are having to roll with the punches yet again on another round of reform. Of course, we knew this was coming, but if we as a district want those hard-fought, hard-won, considered, democratically consulted on, thoroughly heard out provisions in our district plan, if we want to roll those over and make sure that the desires of our community for what we do and where and how we grow gets put into this new spatial plan, we must take part in this process. I would love to point out, since we are having that conversation, that every time the government gives us a new unfunded mandate that makes a rating impact, I really want people to understand that that is a tax raise by proxy. When the discussion out there right now is taxes, taxes, no new taxes, these are taxes. These are taxes that the government puts down through ratepayers every time they give us something new to do without the funding attached to it. And local government always looks like the bad guy, the profligate spender, the ones that can't stick to a budget. Well, it's pretty bloody hard whenever the goalposts move every 5 minutes. This is something that we will do, we will undertake, and we will do to the best of our ability, and we have the skills and the people and the will to do that. But I really, really want people to understand exactly what a tax hike looks like. It's not us raising rates for the heck of it. We need the government to understand, and for people to understand that no longer can they just foist new responsibilities off onto local government and then criticize us for doing the thing that we have no choice in doing. I'll just leave that with you. But as far as this process goes, I am honored to take part in this in whatever capacity I'm required, and to lend any help and experience I can to get a better result for our people. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Any further speakers? Right to reply. I'll put that, so not taking up the right to reply, I'll put the recommendation as with that additional wording. All those in favour, if you could please say aye. Contrary, I declare that carried. That piece that was agreed, we'll need to just have a bring back to make sure we get that through to the mayoral forum. So if you could work through governance on that quarterly, that would be great. We just make sure that that gets through to our mayoral forum with our recommendation.
Have we seen a response from our two people up there?
They can, Brent's put his hand up, so I'm keeping an eye. It's the usual, if you want my attention, put your hand up, and there's a hand on the screen. Wendy and Brent, if you want to take part, do you feel you can take part? Just let me know if you... Yes, Brent?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
So you're able, you can let me know if you need to. Wendy, she'll let us know. Hopefully.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you. There we are. All right. Okay, so we come to 7.4. Thanks, Matt. Thank you. Adoption of CCTV and other recording devices policy. Thanks, Lexi. And Catherine.
Thank you, Mayor Dan. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to adopt the final CCTV and other recording devices policy. The draft policy was circulated to council business units for review for feedback in mid-2025, resulting in a number of changes before being brought to council in June this year to release for public consultation. Over the course of that 4-week, aligned with the Privacy Act 2020 and privacy principles, setting out council's framework for the collection, management, storage and disposal of information. I think that's all we wanted to highlight for now, but we're happy to open for questions.
Thank you. Questions? It's quite straightforward what we're looking for here. Someone prepared to move? Councillor Goldsworthy? Oh, sure, I saw your hand go up there. Seconded by Councillor Fulton. Do you wish to speak?
I think it was me. Yes, it's been a wee bit of a process here, and I guess it's the sign of the times. A lot of the feedback seemed to centre around why we are collecting data, and I appreciated the clear response from the staff that it's actually not why, it's how we're treating the data once it's collected under our responsibilities. So thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton?
Just to say that, look, this looks and feels like it's been very well canvassed, and some of those questions have been asked, those little potential trip-ups, particularly when we're dealing with privacy, and I imagine that the process to come will flesh things out further, so I'm happy to see it go forward.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Giving time for those online, just checking. All right, okay. Right of reply, Councillor Goldsworthy, if you wish.
I don't believe there was anything to reply to.
All right, okay. I'll put the recommendation then. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, declare that carried. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I see Councillor Cairns has indicated he might be going offline shortly, so he might, when he disappears, not put him in his apology for that portion. Right. Okay, so next is the annual report to the Alcohol Regulatory and Licensing Authority. Billy, thank you. He's just gone off. Courtney. Thank you. Thanks, Billy.
Good morning. As you know, every year we have an alcohol report to ALA. That feeds into the wider information that goes to the Justice Ministry of Justice each year. We have to put that report to ALA by the 30th of September. Hence, we're here. If there's any questions, take it as read. And if there's any questions, happy to take them.
Right, any questions? Some are prepared to move. Deputy Mayor, seconded by... Oh,
I will.
Councillor Doody online, there we are. All right, do you wish to speak, Deputy Mayor?
Just briefly, thank you for the report, Billy. This is something that we have to do on an annual basis, and it's a good summary of the activity of the District Licensing Committee. In the recommendation, you'll note reference to the local alcohol policy, the LAP. Currently, that's not in alignment with our new partially operative district plan, and at the moment, the DLC is awaiting a decision at ALA, which is the Alcohol Regulatory Licensing Authority, where there was an appeal against the decision of the committee, largely based on the fact that the LAP did not align with the district plan. So we await that decision with interest, but it could have repercussions depending on what way the ALA goes, but we do need to update the LAP, and I note that a report's coming to us in December, so that will be timely to bring that matter up to date. As far as the LAP goes, this council, I think, was the second council to actually have a LAP approved, and that was Les Pester and Mark from Corcoran French, from memory at the time, went to Wellington. So we've had the LAP for some time, and it will need to be updated in view of the new district plan. So thank you for that. More than happy to support the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Doody, if you wish to speak.
Okay, just want to say thank you very much, and report well done. Really appreciate it. It's a difficult situation that we're all going through with the alcohol licensing policy, and where we're supposed to be going with it. And so I really appreciate the full report. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Do you wish to respond? Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you, Billy. And we just put on record our thanks to the licensing committee. I think they do an excellent job in the work that they do, and I know that we've got the former Deputy Mayor and Neville still chairing that group, and we're grateful for both his work and others that support it, along with our other elected members that support that. So, thank you. All right. Item 7.6, which is the method of voting for the 14th of October 2028 local elections. Let's hopefully we're having them.
I know it seems a long way away, but it is the first stage of preparing for the next elections. So we're just focused on the voting method, and we do have to advertise before the 19th of September what our voting method is going to be. I'll take the report as read.
Thank you. Any questions of Sarah? Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Goldsworthy, I should say.
Probably more out of interest, in terms of voter turnout, has there been any correlation between the two systems?
I don't have any research at my fingertips to be able to answer that. General feedback, over the years we have not had a poll from the community seeking to change the ways. There were 15 councils in the last election that used STV, which had increased slightly over the last, since the previous election. Some people argue it is a fairer system. It is a more complicated and more expensive system. But the feedback as an electoral officer, I've had people understand the most votes wins, and they seem to appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Out of interest, I note that Hamilton changed theirs from just recently from STV to back to first past the post, because the feedback that they gave was it was complicating, and also their rationale was that, and to make it simpler so that they hope to get a higher turnout. See whether that is the case next election.
I guess you only need to look back at the DHB elections a few years ago, and the turnout area for that section was definitely lower.
Further questions, Councillor Means?
Sorry, it's I guess it is pertinent. When would you regard STV to actually be of benefit? Like, is it better whenever there's, for instance, like at-large electorates, or several candidates, several positions in one ward, or is there a situation where it's seen to actually work better, because it does seem unnecessarily complicated?
No, I think it depends on the community's understanding of the system, all the other factors that make up a reason why people vote certain ways. I don't think that there's any clear evidence whether an at-large or a ward area makes any difference, but the voting system has to be the same right across the district for the election.
And roughly how much longer does it take to calculate an election? Like, say in Waimakariri, how much longer would it take to calculate election results under STV versus FPP?
That will partly depend on the number of candidates per election within the overall local body election. There have been examples around the country in recent times where they have gone over 20 rounds to come out with the final result. That can certainly slow the results coming out, the preliminary results coming out on that Saturday to potentially rolling in on the Sunday, and the knock-on effect for the final result down the track. But again, it still depends on the overall votes for that election. Thanks, Sarah.
Good questions. So you wish to move, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy, as per the what's recommended. Do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, no, I'm not going to propose an amendment and vote for a different form of voting. First past the post is a simple process. It's well understood by everyone. We know where we stand, and I think it's a case of applying the KISS principle, and that's what it is. I also hadn't realised, so thank you for enlightening me, Mr Mayor, that Hamilton were going back to first past the post for the reasons why I think it's a suitable system for us to continue to use. And it's worked well, I believe, in the past, and I'm sure it'll work well in the future. And we do get a reasonable turnout with it in the sort of low to mid-40s, which, when you look at local government overall, is actually not a bad outcome. So, more than happy to support this.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, it's possibly the if it's not fully broken, don't fix it kind of mentality. I don't necessarily think that the voting system itself is the reason people aren't turning out in droves on election day, and I think there's probably a wider issue to address there. So I'm happy to, as the Deputy Mayor put it, keep it KISS. And yeah, happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm similarly going to support the recommendation for the reasons that have been said. I think, look, there are merits to all systems, right, depending where you think, but in this instance, the people used to say, and I was guilty of this myself, when STV came out for health board voting, you'd put it aside because it just looked too difficult. Oh, God, I can't deal with that today. I want some time to think about it, and, you know, it's not that I never not got my voting paper in, because I always have, but it's, you really want to, it's not necessarily a quick turnaround, but at least reasons for people not to vote could come about by the STV system. And I think with our here, it's a very straightforward first past the post. I don't see a reason to change it. You want to address the really there does need to be some addressing at some stage of getting voter turnout up. And I know that Nick Smith and LGNZ have done considerable work on this and identifying, hopefully at some stage, government of whichever persuasion or political parties see a willingness to see those changes through, including voting days. There are a whole range of things that were considered by a very thoughtful group that put a lot of effort into it. Electronic voting is still there. There's still reasons why they don't feel that would work. I personally don't subscribe to that. I think there can be things that can be done to enhance and protect that, but that's another matter. But there are a whole range of reasons that were looked into by that group. We've got to find ways of getting people and getting them enthused in it. As the Deputy Mayor said, our turnout's still not bad when we compare it to others, but it's still not where it should be, in the sense that more turnout, more engagement, more ownership in what this council is doing on behalf of its community, and also getting the calibre of candidates every election. So hopefully that continues. So I'll support the recommendation. Any further speakers? Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. As you might have noted by my questions, I'm fascinated by the mechanism that is STV, but in a time where, you know, we are always trying to make it faster and easier and less complicated and more straightforward to vote, I think that STV is an unnecessary complication. And as it said, it's well understood. And in my view, it's a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I am happy to support the motion to retain FPP. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Rather reply to the yes.
Just very briefly, voting is one of the most important parts of our democracy, so we shouldn't meddle or dabble with it lightly. I think it's extremely important to retain a transparent process, and now is not the time to be tinkering with the voting system. So I'd urge you all to support the recommendation.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, I declare that carried. Thank you very much, Sarah. We move to 8.1, which is the health, safety and wellbeing report. No.
Yeah, I'll just ask Katrina to come up. Katrina, excuse me, Katrina writes the report for me, so.
You just turn your microphone on there, Katrina, thank you. Lovely, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to take the report as read and answer any questions you might have.
I'll just add that you probably looked at the list of incidences on page 159, and there's I don't think I've seen as many fainting and falling instances in a report before. I'm not sure whether the cause is all different, but it's interesting, just coincidence. The other one that we have got in there is one where we had a trespass person come to the counter to renew the dog. Doing the right thing, renewing the dog, but we're just going to review that process and see how we're a bit more proactive on that. And the training that's been undertaken on page 161 is quite significant across the organisation.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Manners?
Just quickly, thanks, that's a really good report and it reads very well. Am I to understand correctly on page 162 that August is appears to be the lowest number of reported incidents in, well, a very long time from the looks of it? So whatever we're doing out there, keep doing it. So thank you.
I think there was a question there. Yes. Did you have a question, Councillor Fulton? Yes.
It was a question.
Yes. Yes.
I just had a question just arose out of the incident reports, and it actually relates to the example of the, wood on a road or debris on a road and the traffic hazard. I think we all drive past at times at different times of the day, and we see rubbish or road damage or something, and we think, what's the lesser of the two evils? Pulling over here, doing something about it, going in between the traffic. From a staffing point of view, do we have any advice for our staff or even as elected members? We often feel bound to try and fix the problem. We're just going to run onto the road and take the piece of wood off, or so should we just leave it? Should we report it? I've often grappled with that as to, I had an incident last week where a piece of broken seal damaged a partner's car as it was, but so how do we deal with that on the spot without causing another more serious accident or injury risk?
Well, I'd use steps in solve in the first instance.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes, well done.
In this case, I went and found a road cone, put it beside the broken seal, and drove away, and reported the incidents. But I mean, I just feel that sometimes we put ourselves in positions trying to fix the hazard. We just report it.
Definitely just report it. I think on a personal level, anyone that's using the roads that sees something that's safely to move, or you can't use snaps and so, then do so. If you think that it's going to cause harm to anyone in the public, we don't encourage our staff to get out on the roads in the road corridor and remove things unless it is, they can use their hazard lights and actually remove it if they think it'll cause harm. In this case, the sun was shining on the piece of wood. It looked like a paper bag. It wasn't until they just went past it that it flipped up and they realised it was a piece of wood. So, yeah, one of those things.
Exercising judgment, but
yeah, I think it is personal judgment. I've used my hazard lights. They're the best thing. If you don't use your hazard lights, you usually end up getting beeps and sworn at. But I found the best thing is to just put your hazard lights on, stop, remove the article, get back in, drive off. But if it's seal damaged seal, I don't think there's anything you can do except for report it. And I'd probably give them a call at the customer services if it looks particularly dangerous.
Right, well, we've now got a series of, sorry, unless there's any other questions, someone prepared to move the report. Councillor Mealing, seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you wish to speak?
Just to say that, look, there's good news in here. We're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing. We've got a low number of incidents and nothing notifiable. So well done, and thank you for the comprehensive report.
Right.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Nothing further to add.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary. Declare that carried. Was that a vote in favour, Councillor Doody? I think. Hey, it was an aye, yeah. All right, the next is 9.1, which is referred, thanks Katrina. Is there going to be many questions or debate on this, because it was going to break the council at 11. If there is, we can come back after morning tea, but if it's just receiving the report from CNR, is there likely to be a lot of discussion? Right, so please come forward, Grant. I think, I don't think we need any introductory remarks. We all know what it's about. So it's just what CNR recently discussed. So you're going to take the report as read. Excellent. Any questions? Some prepared to move. Moved, Councillor Mealing, seconded the Deputy Mayor. Do you wish to speak? Right.
The Community and Recreation Committee's already recommended the trial take place under their delegations, but setting the fee falls under the delegation of council. We've had some discussion as to whether or not the fee should be set closer to that of a conventional burial, but I accept that this can be reviewed at the conclusion of the trial. So otherwise, I'm happy that we'll be able to offer families greater choices in interring their loved ones in the district, and I hope you will support the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just briefly, this came to CNR, as Councillor Wheelan's alluded to. I take it that by providing for natural burials, we are creating an exemption to the cemetery policy, which does actually preclude planting in these areas. So I'm not in opposition to it, but it doesn't quite align with the cemetery policy. Council does have the jurisdiction to amend that policy anyhow.
Are you speaking or asking a question there?
I'm just leading up to that.
Well, just if we're going to get into quite a lot of discussion.
No, I'm not debating it, because I am happy to support it, but it seems to me we are actually creating an exemption to the cemetery policy, which I'm not opposing. But just that we should be aware of that, because there may very well be another member of the public coming to us with a matter that may seek an exemption in a not dissimilar way. So happy to support it, Mr. Mayor.
You're reaching for your microphone there.
So in terms of that exemption, just quickly, what's being referred to there is the ability to plant over the berm on the grass and over the burial. It's not exactly an exemption. You're right. The policy, when it was written, it wasn't written with this in mind, and so at the moment the rules in there around the grass berms or burials is that there's no planting, so that the lawnmower can go up and down without having to go around plants and things. There is, though, however, already the ability in there for plants to be with council approval to be planted within the cemetery, and there's precedence also for particular reasons for council to approve a particular type of maintenance for, so for example, for a religious reason, that we can say this is how this area would be managed. So the natural burials would be managed in a different way to what we do the grass cemetery areas, and so therefore we can create a maintenance regime which includes around that planting within it.
We did ask that we have a general review of this, because there's around headstones and those, which I wasn't aware we had. So that did trigger a discussion at our CNR. So I think that's to come back, isn't it?
So there's a review of the actual policy planned for in June, around June 2027. So that's going to align quite well with the end of this review of the trial as well.
Thank you. Any brief speakers? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare it carried. I'll declare, we'll just have an adjournment through to about 11:20, and then we'll come back and pick up the other business. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I like the sports, I agree with that.
All right, everyone, we'll resume. So we've got, firstly, item 10, which is the committee minutes for information. Someone prepared to move? Moved Councillor Manning, seconded Councillor Bartle. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, declare that carried. We have community board minutes for information. Items 11 to 11.4, moved Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded Councillor Ward. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Council portfolio updates, 12.1. Don't have anything major to report under iwi relationships, apart from the fact that the Chief Executive and I have been asked to have a meeting with Tamati Toes, so we'll undertake that the next day or so as arranged. Any questions? Greater Christchurch, that meets, is it this week or next week? I can't remember. Next week, so nothing to update on that at this stage. We've got a partnership meeting next week, but it is pretty much at the moment on pause, pending reform and other processes, so there should be a lot, there won't be a lot on the agenda next week apart from coming together. Councillor Bartle.
That's on the Greater Christchurch relationship. I was sort of asking about whether you'd had any feedback since putting in the proposal that went in recently.
The only feedback we've had was an approach to our chief executives to, there was a couple of questions on that from the partnership director, and it was just mainly in relation to how we would perform the regional functions, and it was to ourselves, Selwyn, Christchurch and Hiranui. In feedback with the other councils, I don't believe that from Canterbury and discussions we've had, there doesn't appear to have been much approach. So we're in a waiting game, really. There's nothing really else. There's a lot of speculation, of course, but it's just that we're in the process of trying to set up a meeting with our members of Parliament to brief them on where we've got to. It appears that trying to set a date's becoming interesting, so the date that you've been sent out as a whole will possibly change, but we'll let you know in due course. Is there anything you had to add there, Jim?
No, it's basically what you said. They just wanted to see how the ECAN functions would be done, but it's still too early to go through all that. And we understand no other council within the Canterbury area has been approached other than those 4 councils.
So, government reforms, the RM, we just had a wee discussion about that earlier. I'm hoping the election might be just a little bit more quiet through that space, apart from rates capping, which we obviously were aware of last week, came out. But apart from that, there isn't anything else I'm aware of at this particular point.
On that rates capping, I had a thought. I'll have to bring it back up.
Okay. Well, maybe we could do that later.
Yeah, no, there was something I thought we needed to challenge as well as.
All right, we'll have that discussion about that. All right. Any other questions of me in that space?
One, Mr. Mayor, and just sort of referring to the question about the Head Start proposals. Obviously, all the councils had an extensive consultation process from their communities, and there was a lot of debate from elected members. I wonder with Christchurch in particular, I know they voted like they did in the narrow vote, but there was a lot of commentary in that instance from Christchurch that seems to suggest they misunderstood how we whether we're a financial burden on the city, for instance. There was a whole lot of commentary that was sort of an untested sort of commentary. Is there some, after all this process is resolved, and that actually going back to Christchurch City and actually trying to put some of those issues to bed or explaining to elected members I mean, particularly the fact that are we a drag on Christchurch? I mean, there was all that sort of stuff that went on. There was other commentary too, which I thought was clearly we think is wrong. So do we just let that lie?
Well, I think we do at the moment.
Yeah.
But there will be an opportunity, and I think where we used to have joint meetings, we should be looking at reinstating those. There was a lot of, I think those that were in the know knew that that was rubbish. What was being said, it was just for political purposes. You know, we chose, through quite conscious discussion, not to engage in that, certainly in a public forum, because there's no purpose in doing so. But there will be an opportunity to resolve that in due course. It's a bit
the misconceptions that fed that what could have been the vote that went the other way, and obviously there was that narrative in the community.
Yeah, we can further that chat at another stage and how we best address that. Thank you. But it's on my mind. Phil's not here at the moment. When he returns, certainly both. Well, it's not just our council. There's also Selwyn in that space as well. There's a bit to resolve there and to come back together. I don't think relationships are not irreconcilable in there. I'd liken it to being just a bit of a family. You just have the occasional disagreement, but you still care about each other. That's the bit that I think we can resolve in due course in further discussions. The part that was really important in that, though, is we didn't melt relationships down altogether, because that's when it does become challenging to get that back. So things I've said in public forums are really important. But we can pick that up at another later stage, if that's right. All right.
I think from what I'm seeing is the relationships are really good between councils. Mayoral Forum, they get on really well together. Chief Executives Forums, and right through the whole Canterbury network, they're working really well. What information gets fed up to their elected members, we don't get involved in. But I think it's really healthy environment at the moment to share information. I think in the next stage, when you look at the actual detail, a lot of that will be borne out, I think. Just the ECAN numbers and ECAN, it's not their fault. They weren't told to do it by district and from particular areas and how to manage their expenses and where the income comes from and how it's distributed. But that will all have to come out in the detail phase, which is stage 2 of the Head Start, and that will become quite clear where costs lie at that stage. But I think the first stage was really around communities of interest. What areas sort of seem to fit well together, and I used to say to my counterparts, I've worked in the waimakariri for 40 years, and I see huge cultural differences between the way we work as a community and those in Christchurch. It's very separate. That when you go over that river, it's certainly you're going to the waimakariri. And so that was the first stage, and the second stage will actually really bring up numbers.
The Canterbury Mayoral Forum on Friday would be the best that I've attended in a long time. Actually, it was a good spirited discussion, as Jeff said. There's good interaction. I think a lot were relieved that there's actually time to be thinking about other things than just Head Start. So, and resuming back to your business as usual, the discussions that we've got, things we're working on. One of the things that was talked about on Friday was the water management, and we put our hands up there to resume those discussions about seeing where that future lies for Canterbury water management and where our district is in that space. So, all right, okay. All right, we're moving on. Climate change, Councillor Mannings.
Thank you. Before I start on that, though, yeah, I would say that update that we had from the Mayoral Forum yesterday was actually quite good. Nigel squeezed quite a lot of updates up into a very short space, and it's quite informative, and yeah, well done to him. So just getting onto my portfolio report. So just starting off with the Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan. So the final year of implementation, which is year 3, was approved at the Canterbury Mayoral Forum on the 20th of August, a few days ago. And there are a number of important projects that are planned for this financial year, with the key priorities being rolling out the Resilience Explorer as a region-wide pilot, which will give a visual way of understanding natural hazards and climate risks across Canterbury, because yes, we've got RECs, but not everybody else has RECs. I think Christchurch City Council and Waimakariri are the only 2 that have it at this point. So that'll be a really good tool to have across the whole region. And then the second one is completing the regional transition to low emissions plan. And third is developing the Canterbury Blue-Green Network plan. So the Regional Blue-Green Network project is being co-led by our very own Dr. Beck Stollery and Veronica Spittle. And the aim for that is to just identify opportunities to use nature-based solutions to help avoid or reduce the impacts of climate change. Often nature knows best, so it works best and is the most cost-effective way of doing a lot of those things. So that work is also in action, fortuitously, in our Waimakariri National Environment Strategy Implementation Plan. So it's particularly useful for us to help us identify and inform locally led solutions in areas that have been identified in priorities in our own district. And then the Regional Transition to Low Emissions Plan will also provide useful information for our own district emissions reduction and sustainability plan, which is about to get underway. And I am pleased to note that, that Isabel Emerson, our new Senior Climate Resilience Officer, started with us yesterday, and she will be leading that work for us here at Council locally. And so overall, so there's some good progress being made at the regional level, and more importantly, there are clear opportunities for that work to translate into supporting and informing what we do here in our own district. On the biodiversity front, the Canterbury Biodiversity Champions Group is preparing a stock take of Member Council's biodiversity priorities to update the Canterbury Mayoral Forum about where councils are working in that space to help everybody inform their LTPs across the region on who's doing what where. And you will have all seen, I'm sure, this weekend just past, they held the 2nd annual Welcome the Birds event at Waikuku in partnership with the Ashley Rakahuri River Care Group in Whairo School. And whilst I was a bit under the weather, hang on, I'll borrow this. Sorry, my microphone just died. I was a bit under the weather and couldn't make it, so I'm a bit bummed that I missed out on it, but I understand a good time was had by all. So, and finally, on biosecurity, you may or may not have seen this, but I think it's worth mentioning a recent report that was produced by regional government and unitary authorities that outlines the benefit of pest control. So they did a cost-benefit analysis on a number of pest control programs around the country and found that the primary sector financially benefits by a return of $22 for every dollar spent over 10 years. And that benefit rises to $128 per dollar spent over 50 years. And that's, on top of that, there are the co-benefits for biodiversity and conservation where those significant gains were achieved, which will no doubt push that benefit up even higher. So it's kind of a stitch in time saves 9 sort of situation where we get very good return for any money spent on biosecurity. So yeah, that is it for me, but yeah, there's lots happening in all those important areas. So now you've been updated.
Thanks, Nikki. Is there any other questions? Just the, you mentioned around the welcoming the birds. It's a lovely, it's the 2nd year they've hosted that at Waikuku, and I got to go to that on Sunday. I really enjoyed being there, especially with the amount of young people that are there, which I think's the work of Enviro schools, but also our schools. But Milton Reserve, there are a lot of birds down there, but they're not the real ones, but they're the ones down there that indicate it's the wriebill and others that the community members, particularly our young people, have created. So if you're down passing that way on your way up to the North Shore, you'll see them there.
I really wanted to go and check out the bird platform with the binoculars, but I wasn't moving very fast on Sunday morning.
Any questions of Nikki? Okay, thank you. International Relationships, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. It won't surprise you to know that this is not a busy portfolio at the moment, but I thought I'd mention a couple of things briefly. We do have a twinning relationship with Sonnabek, which is managed through the Passchendaele Advisory Group. And I don't think the Mayor will mind me disclosing that former councillor Joe Kane recently contacted him, and I happened to be present at the time. She'd recently visited Belgium and made contact with the council and Passchendaele Museum and other people that we have a relationship with in Belgium. And she was keen to develop the relationship further and school exchanges and a whole lot of things, and she was going to get back to us, but I haven't actually received anything myself. Not sure if you have, Mr. Mayor? No, not yet. And secondly, the Honorary Consul for Belgium, Leva Beck, is currently in Belgium, and she'll be visiting probably the same people. And the advisory group is having a meeting at her home when she returns on November the 18th. So I think the advisory group is something that can be more than planting sort of trees. There is a relationship and other things that we can be doing there that aren't necessarily costly items. The second thing I noticed, part of my portfolio, is the Enchi Sister City Advisory Group. I'm not sure where that group is. I've not seen it.
It's not progressing.
No. So it may be timely at some stage that we review that group and where it's at.
Yes.
Or not, as the case may be. So anyhow, that's it from me. So just a few little items of international relationships.
Remind me to have a chat to you about Enchi at some stage. All right. Any questions of the Deputy Mayor? Thank you. All right, so we have, I have no questions, no urgent general business. Before we come to matters public excluded, I did talk to the CE the other day that I'd like to look at our schedules going forward, that we, around emerging matters and risks, and where we integrate those into our briefings. So where each of you have portfolios, perhaps at our briefings that we're having, that we put that on the list. It's not just an update from Jeff and myself, for instance, but it'll be good to go around the table and just, there's so many parts moving in the organisation, stuff that you might be over or things that have been discussed at management that you'd like to share. It'd be good to have that there, make sure everyone's kept on the ramp extraction things, all those matters that do come up, and how they're being managed, or issues that are coming up, or things that you want to share from your portfolio. So we'll integrate that into the briefing sessions and use that opportunity to let us know what's going on. We don't need exhaustive, because you have your portfolio updates to your committees, but these are just where there is, or various report backs, but it's where there is issues that are coming up that you'd like to share, so we're all aware of it. Okay. Right, so matters to be considered with the public excluded, that's listed there. Someone prepared to move? Councillor Fulton, second Councillor Marshall. So for the reasons outlined, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declared that carried. So we're now in